Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Good. I think I'm acutely aware of the fact that it's 1:30 and the schedule says that lunch is at 1:20. So I've already eaten into your lunchtime, and every second more that I spend here, I'm going to get more dirty glances from all of you. Okay? So let's agree on a time. When should we stop? Another 20 minutes? Is that okay? Let's forget the schedule because we are not on schedule. Would 20 minutes be okay? Can you hold on your hunger for 20 minutes? Good. So I'm going to really talk at random. Okay, let me start with a confession. I know some of the organizers. In fact, a couple of them have been students of mine, so they're very kind to me and they call me for this conference, and I'm not sure why more than once, but I've been to the Delhi conference and I've been to the Hyderabad conference in the last couple of months. And each time I need to scratch my head saying, so what do I say now? Because though usually the audience is different, I think it's only fair that I don't say the same thing. Okay? So if I remember what I said in Delhi, one of the things I talked about is the fact that, when we're looking at growth in India, we're looking at certain pockets. So we immediately think of certain parts of even the financial centers of Delhi or Mumbai or Gurgaon and now Bangalore and all that. And somehow, for a large nation like India, looking at those 3-4 small pockets of growth, where very soon the infrastructure starts crumbling. If anybody is from Bangalore, the standard complaint that you'll hear is that Bangalore, is becoming completely unlivable. The traffic is horrible. There's no power. There's no water. There's garbage is becoming a problem. All of that, right? So I think some of what we were talking about in the earlier session about how do we decentralize growth. There's of course this Paris talks going on. There is this whole ecological imperative to decentralizing growth, and I think someone like Gandhiji had the wisdom to think about it many decades back when he wanted self-sufficient rural economies. And rather than today, we are looking at everything. I mean, one of the good and bad things about globalization is the fact that things get built in one part of the world and distributed everywhere. So, rather than decentralizing, we are really, creating pockets of growth and then spending huge amounts of time, money, effort, and energy in transporting things from one part of the world to another, which is ecologically unsustainable. So we need to create self-sustainable ecological and economic systems. And a lot of what's happening in the world today, and including how we look at India, is not really sustainable from that perspective. I mean, we are keeping on building highways, and we're keeping on. Interesting. We were talking about railways, and this is again a quote that one of my favorites, and it came from a gentleman whose name I don't know. I only know he was a mayor of Bogota, and he says a developed world is not one where everybody owns a car, where the poor people own cars. A developed world is one where the rich people use public transportation, right? So we need to move towards a world where people are actually using more ecological, more sustainable, more not just environment friendly, but people friendly ways. And we talked about the gap and the lack of equity. We need to be all working together on equal platforms. We don't need to, today rural India shouldn't be meant to just supply food to urban India or supply labor to urban India, versus they have a right to have a good, healthy quality of life of their own. And a lot of our thinking is very biased in creating these little tiny pockets of thing. I mean, today there's this huge startup ecosystem which is growing, and unfortunately a very large part of it is really about, I'm saying they're great ideas, but about this whole IT-led, these mobile apps, this e-commerce, and that's taking a disproportionate amount of the money and intellectual capital and whatever. And I think that's again creating pockets of fast-track growth. For a large country like India with 70% population in the villages, it's not the right model. I mean, it probably works in Silicon Valley and good for them. And of course, we should have Bangalore complete with Silicon Valley. But I think as a large nation, we need to think beyond that. And that really brings me to the point of, that brings me to the point that I made in my second talk, which I'd given in Hyderabad, where I really said, a country of problems, and India is a country of many problems, and we can spend hours debating and discussing and blaming the politicians and blaming the bureaucrats and blaming the people. If you're in a state like West Bengal, we can blame the work culture of this state or whatever. We can do all of that, but the blame game can go on forever. But I basically believe that a country of problems is by definition a country of opportunities. Every time you have a problem, you have an opportunity to solve it. And a lot, maybe not all, but a lot of those opportunities are also economic opportunities. Someone can actually set up a business. It may not be immediate, it may not be easy. So if there is a problem that what are rural people doing if they're not getting any livelihoods, there's an opportunity of maybe training or skilling or educating them. If there's a problem of them becoming, labor who are moving, there's an opportunity of putting them back, as long as we create economic systems that will sustain them. So I believe that every problem has a flip side and an opportunity, and it needs a little bit of innovative thinking. I also heard one of the earlier discussions when we were saying that, this whole binary thinking of should we design for excellence or should we design and optimize to make it cheap? And I heard Sanjay saying that it shouldn't be either or, which I agree. I disagree with him when he's saying that the Hindu thinking is very binary. I think, and I am definitely not carrying any card for Hindu and definitely not Hindutva. But I think in India, not just Hindu, I think we actually allow for a lot of complexity. We allow for a lot of richness and grace, which is why our gods sin and Ravana prays to the gods, right? Which means we allow for many shades of grey. We are not a very binary thinking. So Sanjay, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. So given that, I think there's an opportunity of finding innovative solutions which can actually be pretty world class and yet not very. So do you start by relooking at the material that you use? Do you start relooking at the technology? Do you start relooking at the process? Do you avoid over-engineering? Etc., etc. So there are 100 things, and I think that's a design challenge. How do you create somebody took the design challenge of saying, how can I create a 1 lakh car? Somebody created a design challenge of how to create a 3,000 rupees smartphone. So it's possible. And the point is, you may not get it at first step, but that's entirely the challenge that we have to take on, because there are social realities and we have to work with them. Finally, what's the point of creating a solution if the solution doesn't solve a problem? So the problem defines the solution. The problem is we need some great products at affordable prices because that's what people in India can afford. Figure it out. Who says it's easy? Who said if life were easy, we shouldn't be standing here, right? So I'm not saying I have a solution, and it's not for me to find a solution, but there must be a solution and somebody has to try to find it. Okay, that finally leads me to what I want to talk about briefly today, and I've already taken half my time, is I'm acutely conscious that I'm kind of standing here in Bengal. And unlike the earlier sessions when I kind of flew out of Kolkata and I gave a talk in Delhi and flew out of Kolkata and gave a talk in Hyderabad, this time I'm in Kolkata. I physically live in Kolkata for the last 7 years. So I've had a pretty interesting, successful career, most of it in Bombay, but also Bangalore, also Chennai, also Delhi, and chose for whatever reason to be in Kolkata. And one of the things I've often found is a certain amount of despondency and a certain amount of sense of gloom and doom of saying, what's going to happen in this state? And if you're a good person, you might as well leave the state and find opportunities elsewhere. At slightly larger scale, that's also happened in an Indian thing, right? A lot of Indians who've gone, the so-called brain drain or whatever. And I genuinely want to kind of think a little bit about this whole phenomenon of saying, so if you look at facts, there are some facts, depending on which way you look at the facts. Yeah. Is the business growth in Bengal been exceedingly good in the last few decades? Probably not. Is the infrastructure great? Probably not. But then I can give you instances where places like Bangalore and Gurgaon or wherever else, infrastructure is probably worse. I think the quality of life in Bengal is probably as good, if not better, than some of these other cities. Do we have intellectual capital? Apparently we do, because a lot of people from Bengal and Kolkata actually go outside and do very well. So what's stopping us from making things happen in this part of the world? And I don't only mean Bengal, I mean East India, I mean, Northeast India. And I think there could be a number of issues. They could be political, they could be bureaucratic, there could be history. But most importantly, I think it's in the mind. I think somewhere in our minds, we have accepted and believed the fact that great growth, socioeconomic growth, balanced growth, equitable growth is not possible in this part of the world. And because our belief has now created a self-sustaining myth, we act as we believe. And therefore, when we want to look at economic opportunities, we look outside. When intelligent, smart, good people want to grow their careers, they move out of this part of the world. And unfortunately, our belief. So I genuinely believe that if this belief can be challenged and questioned, we can turn the clock around. Or rather, we can take the clock forward and suddenly create new things. See, if you look at the, in really big picture, you found different parts of the world. There was a time not so long ago, 400 years back, that, India and China used to account for more than half the world's GDP. Now we can hanker back and feel proud about it, which is irrelevant today because today you're not. Or say that if that was possible, then something else could be possible today. Question is what? So we will not directly copy or replicate or just feel proud about something which was in the past, but we will use that to saying that it is possible and there are cycles and there are ups and downs and in different parts of time, different parts of the world can emerge. What I believe is that you need a tipping point and you need a critical mass. You need a critical mass of people who believe and do something about it, and somewhere it creates that tipping point where enough people will start. So if you look at Bangalore, what was Bangalore even 30 years back? I've lived in Bangalore, I know, and for a long time Bangalore used to be called the retirement capital of the India, because that was a great place with lovely weather and a lot of gardens that people could go and retire. Okay. It took maybe 4 or 5 IT companies to start changing that perception. And it took maybe 10 or 15 years to make that happen. So it just needs not the government, and I can tell you, I don't believe the government of Karnataka had anything to do with the IT revolution in Bangalore. So let's not blame governments. It does help if the government helps. It does help if other people come along. But even without that, if you have a reasonable, not very large, but a reasonable number of people who come together and saying, we believe we can do it, and we will, and we are going to stop till we reach there. And it could take 3 years, it could take 5 years, it could 7, we don't know how long it will take, but we're going to be at it till we get there. I think it's possible. I think it's happened elsewhere in the world. I think it's happened in India. I think it would happen here, starting today. So one of the things that we wanted to do is to explore whether, and this is where I believe that you need to start collaborating, because no one individual or one company can ever do it alone. If you try it, it'll be much harder. But the moment you try to collaborate, you find other companies, you try educational institutions, you find government departments, and sometimes it's a luck and chance. And I genuinely believe there are some good people and not so good people in every possible segment. It's easy to blame politicians, it's easy to blame bureaucrats. But in my career, I can tell you, there have been at least 5 occasions that I've had to work with government departments and bureaucrats, and I've found them to be some of the best people that I've ever worked with. I've of course worked with some government bureaucrats who've been extremely inefficient or corrupt. Okay? So it's always possible. If you make your intent clear, and if you are going out there to try to do something, sooner or later, call it the law of karma, call it good luck, call it whatever will happen, and you will find opportunities, and you will find the right people, and they will start coming together. So let me tell you a little bit about what's been happening in the West Bengal, and I've been fortunate to be in some ways part of it, right? So I came about 7 years back to Kolkata, and I was kind of figuring out what to do. I was doing a little bit of consultancy. One of the first opportunities, which surprisingly I had almost forgotten, was somebody I knew put me in part of a team. And that was a time that whole Commonwealth Games in India was kind of going downhill with Kalmadi and corruption, and you remember all of that. And they put together a small team which consists of Javed Akhtar, Prasun Joshi, etc. And I was part of that team. We said that, maybe some part of it can't be controlled, but one thing that the whole world looks at, and which is the high point of games, is the opening ceremony. And can we have a good opening ceremony which kind of kicks off and creates a good image of India? And we were, in a very short time, we were lucky and able to put that together. So that was one of the first assignments I did. But since then, I've been doing many kinds of interesting assignments, and almost by less design and more by default, I've started working more and more with entrepreneurs in this part of the world. Partly because there are not that many old established businesses which still exist in this part of the country. So it was partly by choice, by force. But I also started teaching in IIM Calcutta, and soon in IIM Calcutta we created something called the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I became an advisor. We created an incubation cell. Last year we set up a separate Section 25 company to support entrepreneurship. Somewhere along the line, through some common contacts, we got introduced to the MSME department of West Bengal, and we found an extremely efficient IS officer there who was willing to do a lot of things. So we started creating an ecosystem where the government officials who work in the MSME department in the district industrial centers become more entrepreneur friendly. Okay? This was also enabled by a basic realization that in Bengal today, given the past history, given the perception that Bengal has across the country, it's very unlikely that big investors will come with bag full of money to start investing and setting up plants or whatever. We can wish for it, we can try, and we do, there have been these attempts of this Bengal business summits and all that, and there have been some success, good for them. But by and large, there's going to take some time to build back that belief of outsiders in a state like Bengal. And it has to start with the belief of insiders in Bengal that it is possible, right? How do you do that? So we said, okay, can the government mechanisms be more entrepreneur friendly? So we spent a lot of time, and we've been doing for the last 2 years, actually training and capacity building the government officials. There are more than 400, 450 such people who have actually surprisingly become much more entrepreneur friendly. Not everyone. There are always in any group of people, there'll be 20, 30% who are skeptics, who don't want to work, etc. That's all right. But a majority of people have actually. So a lot of it was about education and training and, making them aware of, how to evaluate a business plan, how to make an entrepreneur, prepare a kind of a bank loan, a proposal that is likely to succeed, etc., etc. Give them inputs, give them technical inputs, tie up with technical universities. A lot of the work that the government was doing, we were able to kind of train the people to be able to do that. But the biggest part was the mindset change, where we said that you've been good old bureaucratic government babus with red tape, and now you have to change your mindset from red tape to red carpet. And you have to go out, and the entrepreneurs will no longer come to you. You have to go out and reach out to entrepreneurs and see how we can help them, right? It took a lot of work, and it's still work in progress, but we believe in 2 years, and 2 years is not such a great time in the larger scheme of things. We believe we've been able to make a fantastic difference, okay? And it's something we feel very good and proud about. This is the time we kind of encountered what we thought was an even bigger problem. We said, okay, so maybe the government apparatus is going to start becoming a little more entrepreneur friendly in the state of West Bengal. Incidentally, a fact that not many of you may know, is in the last 2 years, the number one state in the country for taking micro and small and medium-sized loans in the country, which is a direct reflection of the amount of new companies being formed and activity which is happening in the micro small credit. The last 2 years is the state of West Bengal, which has beaten Gujarat to be the number one state, okay? So at the grassroots level, there is something happening, and most of us sitting here, we probably still don't know, okay? So that's one. But there was still a bigger problem, and the bigger problem is connected with this thing of belief. We in Bengal probably don't think that we are made out to be entrepreneurs, right? It's something. I mean, we've seen our parents and 3 generations of people who've been great filmmakers and poets and whatever, but hey, till Saurav Ganguly came along, most Bengalis didn't even think they could be great sports people. Now maybe some of them do. Okay, you could be a singer, you could be whatever, and the society by and large encourage people to, look for safety, look for security, look for good jobs, maybe outside Bengal. And we said, you can open the doors of government departments to welcome entrepreneurs, but the entrepreneurs are not going to walk in unless they want to become entrepreneurs. And not enough people in Bengal, especially young people, don't want to become entrepreneurs, and society doesn't support them. So we said, can we do something which can actually help change the social mindset towards entrepreneurs? Now this sounded like a really tall claim. For generations, Bengalis believe that they're good at something and not so good at something. And how can you change that social mindset? How can you make people's, basic belief about who they are and their own DNA change, and that too overnight? So we said it's impossible, and then we said, no, maybe it's not impossible, it's difficult, let's try doing something. So that's when a few of us, and me included, came up with an idea. And the idea was basically, can we do something which actually looks across the state of Bengal and tries to identify entrepreneurs and basically allow them to take part in a business plan competition. And these need to be early stage entrepreneurs. We're not talking entrepreneurs who've been there for a long time. We want to encourage young, new, not young necessarily, new entrepreneurship. We want to create or help create more entrepreneurs in the state of Bengal, because when that happens, we solve 3 problems. First is, we solve the problem of employment, right? We talked of livelihoods, and this again should not be one IT park in Salt Lake. It should be across the state. We should solve problems of livelihood and employment. And the way it can happen is not when the Tatas and Jindals come and set up big factories. It can happen when in every small town and city, there are people who, rather than looking for jobs, rather than becoming job seekers, become job creators. First, can they become self-reliant? Secondly, can they give jobs to 10, 3, 5, 7 people in their neighborhood? And some of them, out of those micro-entrepreneurs, 100 of them, some of them will become medium, a few of them will become large. And that's how every society in the US and the Germany have grown. Okay, and one of the interesting things, and this is a statistics I had shared, if you look at the top 100 companies of US, they are spread across 33 or 37 cities. If you look at the top 100 companies of India, they're all spread across 3 cities, which means we haven't focused on decentralized growth, and the time is, one of the world's largest companies is Coca-Cola. It is in Atlanta. Atlanta is the 33rd largest city of US. So it's possible to have, so why can't we have big global companies, not just in Kolkata, out of Burdwan, out of Jaipur, out of Vishakhapatnam, which is where Winnie, after this talk, I believe, has relocated. And I'm very encouraged about that. Okay, so the question was that how do we identify and locate these entrepreneurs across the state? And the interesting part of the idea is rather than just having a regular business plan competition, not typical IT, but across entrepreneurs for the state, what we will give them is we'll give them a platform. The people who reach the final stages, can they go up on a reality TV show? And given the recognition and given the rewards and the social approval and social acceptance that entrepreneurs truly deserve and which the state has not given. And once that happens, not only for entrepreneurs, but the families, the community members, the what we call the Padar Mashima Pishima, when all these people watch on a general entertainment channel, entrepreneurs of Bengal, not just the singers and dancers and whatever, getting social recognition, maybe the tipping point will happen. Maybe the beginning of the realization across society that entrepreneurs are a very important and integral part of society. And if Bengal has to move ahead, you need entrepreneurs to help that happen. And let us give them that social recognition they deserve. So this is what was an idea a few months back. We put together a proposal from IIM Calcutta Innovation Park 6 months back to the government of West Bengal. We got an approval about 3 or 4 months back. Last Sunday, the first episode of ABA Bangla came out on Zee Bangla. The second episode comes tomorrow. We have 9 episodes. And some of the people, some of the participants of that thing are going to be here. They're going to be here in the evening to present to you. Okay? So I'm extremely happy, and you will see the kind of ideas they have. And most of them are not people with a typical IT app e-commerce kind of background. They come from across Bengal. For the sake of convenience, because we wanted them to present here, obviously people from Kolkata, around Kolkata have been able to come today, but there are at least 2 or 3 of them who will be able to share their ideas, and you will see how they are, how good they are. What was really gratifying, and of course, it's an attempt, and in any idea, so this is an entrepreneurial idea about entrepreneurship in Bengal, and it may fail. The point about entrepreneurship is you got to try. You never know. Entrepreneurship invariably comes with risk. You don't know what's going to happen. You need to believe, you need to try. And usually you need to try again and again, because there will be a certain amount of failure and you take it in your stride. So one of the things we want to do is that we hope this first season is successful enough for us to have a chance to make a second attempt. We'll get better at it. We'll do again and again. And if we have 3 or 4 or 5 seasons like this, maybe then we will start beginning our job of trying to change the mindset of this part of the country or this part of the world about how they should look at entrepreneurship, right? And we want not just entrepreneurs, we want their families, we want their community to start thinking about entrepreneur in a different way, okay? So this is, as I said, an innovative entrepreneurial kind of take on entrepreneurship. The interesting thing is nothing like this has ever happened in India or any part of the world, where an individual state has used a general entertainment medium, business reality show. Even if there have been business reality shows, they've been used on a business channel, not a general entertainment channel, because that's what we want to do. We want to change people's mindset, not business community's mindset. I want to finish by saying this, that when we came up with this idea, we didn't really know how far it will go. We didn't know whether the West Bengal government would accept it. Give them credit, they did. They funded it, they've completely promoted it, and they put a lot of effort and money and time behind it, okay? So first, kudos to a government. When we are skeptical about government and bureaucrats, we must say that there are parts of the government who can actually make this happen. And this is our practical experience. And it's not something that I can tell you, it's on TV. It came last Sunday. See, I'm not saying it's the best or the most perfect show, but I think it's good enough as a first attempt and something we feel good and proud about, okay? So tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Zee Bangla. A lot of you may not open a Bangla channel. I normally don't, but this is something that I want to watch, okay? The second thing I want to say is, so it was collaborative. So we took help from all kinds of people. We took help from TIE, we took help from NASSCOM, we took help from people to judge. We had all kinds of people, partners to make it happen. We couldn't do it alone. The government couldn't do it alone. IIM Calcutta couldn't do it alone. We needed everybody. And that's the other lesson I have learned about, trying to develop entrepreneurship or trying to develop growth. It has to be collaborative. We have to talk to each other. We have to help each other. It's never going to happen alone. Entrepreneurship is tough, but the only way we can happen is that we create a support system for them. So that's beginning to happen. We have, Bengal is the first state which has come up with a 200 crore fund solely dedicated to entrepreneurs in the state of Bengal. And some of that money is going to go to some of the winners of this show. Okay? So that's one of the things that's already beginning to happen or is happening. The last thing I want to say is that, when we conceived of this idea in this show, we thought, okay, the idea is to try to project some entrepreneurs. But we also came from that little bit of doubt and skepticism. We're trying to do this, but at the end of it all, it may be our idea. What really matters is the people who go up on the show and what work have they done, are they doing. So at the end of doing all this, if we don't get any applications, or if we get very few applications, and the applications are, all the Ghasapita application of somebody who wants to set up a rice mill or whatever, then it's not going to. There's not going to be interesting content on the show. And we're not going to be able to prove the fact that there is some budding entrepreneurship already happening and it's good work is happening so that more can be encouraged. We had an initial application and we gave very little time. And the application happened in the middle of Durga Puja. The last date of applications was Oshtami. If any of you from Kolkata, you will know. If you have to celebrate Oshtami and in your pada, and you have to give an application for a business kind of contest, which you've never heard of, it's kind of loaded. In spite of that, there were 1,500 initial applications, 400 completed registrations. We selected the top 100. We screened them. We actually validated them. We had people from DIC go and check physically whether those businesses were real, whether they did not fill up a piece of paper. And then the top 60 came to IIM Calcutta for a 3-day boot camp where we kind of helped them kind of groom and polish their pitch. Therefore, they went up on TV. And on TV, the top 40 entrepreneurs went up. 3 of you who we will see here today. The interesting thing was, once we got those applications, we listened to their pitches. Of course, we helped them improve their pitch or whatever. Suddenly, we realized we ourselves had no idea how much of genuine, interesting entrepreneurial work was actually today already happening in Bengal. We wanted to make the world believe we ourselves didn't know what was really going on. So, and this was an excellent opportunity for us to change our own mind. The people who want to change the mind of the people in Bengal, I think we first needed to change our own mindset, saying, wow, this is happening in Bengal today. There are at least 40, 60, 100 people who are doing seriously interesting, good work, which is truly worth being proud about. So I think it was like we want to educate the world, but it was also an opportunity for educating ourselves. And today I stand with so much more confidence saying, there are genuinely good people who are doing. And the best part is some of the people who are doing it, and most of them are young people. So they're not been corrupted by this generation-old thinking that, it's not possible in this part of the world. It's not possible in Bengal. They don't care what the earlier generations thought or did or felt. As far as they're concerned, they want to do it, and they've started. And we are very fortunate that we could give them a platform to tell the world that the change is beginning to happen. It starts with belief. We took a call. Today our belief stands strengthened. Thank you. Okay, I don't know if you have time for questions, or should we go for lunch? Organizers? Do we have time, or do it over lunch? Your call. We'll break for lunch? Okay, I'm going to be around for lunch, so we'll talk, yeah? Thank you, everyone. All the best.
I believe we all have a little more faith and belief now. Since Mr. Mitra was not here during the unveiling ceremony, I request Mr. Srijan Pal Singh to present him a signed copy of Advantage India.